We've talked a lot about this, this recent crop of rookies who are obviously no longer rookies anymore. So I'm thinking about which one of those guys from the 2022 draft class on this roster do we think has the potential to make the big second-year jump that, like, we talked about a lot last year with Greg Newsome and JOK, and this year how we didn't really see that from those guys. Do you guys see one of these rookies really jumping out in year two?
It's a good question. I like it. Really
Go ahead,
good.
Mary Kay.
I think there are a number who have the potential to step it up. I don't even know if we can include Martin Emerson because he already stepped it up, right? So I almost feel like we have to exclude him from the conversation because he had a pretty breakout rookie season. Now, maybe you guys disagree with me and think that he should be involved in this conversation. But
I think if for no other reason, he's probably the really obvious answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's take him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's take him out. He started a lot of games last year. He played really well. And, he's not somebody that, we're looking at and wondering what the heck is going on or will go on with Martin Emerson, right? But there are a couple other guys that are in that category. And I think you can, make a case for almost any one of them. Some of those include, Alex Wright. You're talking about Perion Winfrey, David Bell, Cade York, right? I mean, these are some guys that we really have to wonder about. So if I had to pick one of those guys to make the biggest impact next season, it's a really good question. It's a really good question, and I think a tough one to answer because we don't know what the defense is going to look like yet. We don't know what Jim Schwartz thinks of these guys yet. But I don't know. I think I'm actually going to say Perion Winfrey because I think that Jim Schwartz might see some raw talent there that he can do something with on that defensive line. And he likes defensive tackles. And I think that Perion, if you can rein him in and get him going in the right direction, you kind of might be onto something there. And really, I mean, how excited would the Cleveland Browns be if Jim Schwartz can, kind of grab Perion Winfrey, turn him around and get him going in the right direction. And that direction would also include getting right to the quarterback. So I'm going to say Perry Wine.
I like it. That's a good one. Ashley, who do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I asked this question without having a surefire answer because, like Mary Kay said, I mean, you can make a case for multiple of these guys. And I do like the Perion Winfrey. He was one of the guys I was considering. But, I'm going to take the chance to make the case for Cade York. I know when I talked to him, towards the end of the season, not after the season was over, but towards the end of the season when he talked to me one-on-one, he seemed like, we talked about on this podcast, like kind of at his wit's end with trying to figure out what was going wrong with some of these misses. And, it wasn't his technique and what was happening. But then when he talked to us on Getaway Day, I left that scrum feeling like he was more self-assured. He said he learned a lot from the season, that he doesn't need to be so focused on his technique that it's actually becoming a hindrance mentally for him later in the season. He said there's a time for that. He was doing it way too much later on in the season. And I do think, given his makeup, what we know about him, what he did at LSU after having kind of a rough start to his career there, I like that he kind of flipped that mentality a little bit when he talked to us. And he didn't seem at his wit's end anymore. So I'll take a chance and say maybe he comes back next year and there are fewer of those issues for him to work out.
And it kind of like, Cade York has to be in this discussion, right? Like he's got to be better in year two. He just has to be. That leash gets a little bit tighter in year two, especially as seats maybe get a little bit hotter if things don't go as well. So I've got a wild card here. There's actually a couple names left that we could throw out there. But as I was scrolling through the draft class list, I thought of Cade York. I thought of our buddy Perry Wine, Perion Winfrey. How about Jerome Ford? A guy we didn't see a lot of. Dan. Yeah, a guy we didn't see a lot of this year, but he kind of supercharged the kick return game. Like he's like a legit kick returner, even if they just want to put him in that role. But it's probably not likely that Kareem Hunt is back. And so that opens up a spot for Jerome Ford, who kind of does some similar things in the passing game. Now, he's not Kareem Hunt, who, Kareem Hunt has led the league in rushing before, but he's got some of the same skill set as Kareem Hunt as far as how versatile he can be and how multiple he can be. And again, just that kick return game. I mean, Mary Kay, I could make the case that Jerome Ford might have helped save Mike Prefer's job, because that kick return game was dead. And then they just kind of stumbled into him. And I don't think he'd ever done it before, if I remember right. So there's something there with Jerome Ford, I think.
Yeah, he did a nice job. And you're right.